As I said, yes, I am. As I said, good afternoon, everyone. Let's get started. Course objectives. When you finish this course, you all should be able to answer any audit questions that come up during the audit section for any of the auditors, and you should also be able to walk them through your ARO steps through EBS. That's basically in a nutshell what the course objectives are. Agenda. We have 6 modules. I will go through modules 1 through 3, and TK will pick up with 4 through 6. First module, key financial internal control. Okay, the internal control 8 is actually outlined in the manual. It's actually on page 7 of the manual, and it is number H. The most important highlight of the key control is the control activity. And the thing that I want to highlight for you all is if performance is not satisfactory with the supplier. If the performance is not satisfactory, the supplier will be asked to abide by the agreement before a goods receipt is posted. The MIPR terms may also be changed with an approved and agreed upon amendment to the MIPR. And this slide is basically just a kind of an overview of the internal control and kind of gives you a visual of the control activity, which basically shows you that the ARO should be comparing the MIPR with the performance. And if the performance is not satisfactory, they need to work with the sellers to get them to abide by the terms and conditions of the MIPR. Audit deficiency. Substantiating documents, evidential matter, EBS goods receipt. We just recently had an audit, and from the audit findings, these are 2 of the audit deficiencies that were noted. The EM was either not available in EBS or missing information. The goods receipt was not posted or not posted timely. Performance challenges. EBS outbound MIPR report is currently displaying inaccurate PO, invoice, and GR values for a significant number of MIPRs. We currently have an RFC out to correct that. There is no time frame as to when that will be actually corrected. It is out there and it's in the works. Substantiating documents not provided by seller timely, missing information or not at all. EBS good receipt not posted timely or not at all. Next slide. Audible way forward. This training is one of the ways that's going to help us to get more in line that when we do have an audit that we'll be able to pass. We are currently working on a DLA outbound MIPR manual revision, monthly timeliness review, perform, and audit retest. Next slide. Knowledge check. What is our DLA audit deficiencies for intergovernmental receipt and acceptance? A, evidential matter not available or missing. B, ARO not available for audit. C, receipts not posted or posted timely. D, A and C, or E, all of the above. Anybody want to take the chance at the knowledge check? I heard a D and I think I heard E. D is the correct answer. Next slide. What is the final action accomplished by the ARO to signify proper receipt and acceptance? A, review billing and receipt history. B, retrieve, review, and upload evidential matter. C, post the electronically stamped goods receipt in EBS. D, physical verification of goods services received. Anyone? Okay, D or C. Anyone else? I think I heard another C. The answer is C. Next slide. What is the primary performance challenges for intergovernmental receipt and acceptance preventing compliance and auditability? A, EBS outbound MIPR report inaccurate. B, substantiating documents not provided by the seller. C, inadequate ARO training. Or D, all of the above. Anyone? Very good. D is correct. Okay, next slide. We're actually in module 2, ARO designation and responsibilities. ARO designation and preparation. The first thing you need is the training, which is, of course, the outbound MIPR course in LMS, and also the COL, certifying official legislation training. The next thing that you would need would be through your appointment, which would be your duty form 577, EBS access, and then assign an alternate ARO once you have the access. ARO responsibilities. Two things I want to highlight is to ensure the audit service is complete, ensure payment amount does not exceed obligations, and retain and maintain all supporting documentation within EBS. Another important thing to keep in mind is post-goods receipt upon receipt of service via the purchase orders or receipt task in EBS workflow. Everybody's doing that? Silence. Okay, next slide. Any questions before I go forward? Next slide. Now let's check true or false. It is mandatory that a substitute ARO be assigned in EBS. True or false? Anyone? Very good. Next knowledge check. For new AROs, in what sequence must designation requirements be accomplished given the following actions? A, request EBS access. B, assign substitute in EBS. C, fill and submit a DD 577 appointment form. D, complete outbound MIPR and COL training. Anyone want to take a guess? That's good. Okay, next knowledge check. Regular communication with the seller is required and necessary to receive timely and proper receipt and acceptance evidence to matter. True or false? I think I heard a true. That's correct. Module 3, policy review. This is very important because the policy for ARO receipt and acceptance is actually a DLA policy. It's not, that's where the policy actually establishes, and then there's some more additional requirements by DLA. I'm not going to read through the whole slide, but that's just basically a nutshell of what the DOD policy is, receipt and acceptance. Any questions, anyone? You guys are too quiet. Okay. Mhm. Not a problem. This is the actual DLA policy for goods and services receipt and acceptance. The main thing I want to highlight here is this physical verification of final delivery is not technical in nature and does not require an in-depth quality inspection to expose defects. Continue on from the DoD policy, DLA policy, I'm sorry. When service or project requirement are delivered over a period of months and years, as outlined in the general terms and conditions of the accepted MIPR or agreement, final delivery is not expected. Basically, your final delivery won't be expected, but you will be required to monthly provide some type of ER. Basically, just says that something was received in for the service that you actually outlining your MIPR. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gonna continue on next slide. Okay. Can I give you the slide number? Oh, okay, it's slide number 24. Okay. The third party person must not be a federal employee or contractor of the servicing agency. Confirmation of the third party physical verification must be evident on a retained document. That's the most highlighted and important thing of that slide. Not a federal employee of the servicing agency. Any other questions? Next slide, I'm on slide 25. Evidence matter. This is the scope, service, order number, amount, and period. And I know you've all heard SOAP before because I know Bob has browbeaten it into everyone's head. Any questions? And on slide 26, this slide helps to answer the question where if you can't get an invoice from a supplier because they're willing to or they're just not responsive to meet your request. We've created an MFR template to substitute substantiating receipt and acceptance of EM. But actually, I haven't sent it out. I haven't sent it out, but you can actually download it actually from DCS. It's the black, bold, highlight arrow. You can actually click on that and you can actually download a copy. Sure. Is it slide 26 or 25? Any other questions? And Bob, you have another question too in the chat window, and it says that my area manager still wants to sign an MFR. Can I add his signature block to the MFR? On slide 27, according to DLA policy, evidence of receipt must contain the authorizing official's name and the authorizing signature of our electronic equivalent. True or false? Anyone? That's correct. True. According to DLA policy, acceptance establishes that the A, goods services received satisfy the order criteria. B, goods services are of acceptable condition, quality. C, A, and B, or D, goods services will be provided following the order. Anyone? I think I heard D and C. Okay, the answer is actually A. However, the last class, we also had some controversy about this one. Mr. Snyder, mostly everybody was in uproar because they thought it should have been C. Any questions? And I'm on slide 29, and this actually starts module 4. So I'm actually going to hand off to Mr. Thru Taylor.
Everybody hear me now? I am sharing audio. Can you hear me? Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right. So we pick up, again, in the purchase order for receipt task folder, okay? And the line that you see that's highlighted, just to give you an idea of the format that the POs are displayed in, you're going to see a PO number, in this case the 4521 number, the line number, which is 0002, and you're going to see the task creation date and time. The creation date in this one was September 7th, 2014 in the workflow. And the creation time, it's military time, which is 2106. And for you military folks like myself, what is 2106? Anybody know? Not 8 o'clock, not 10 o'clock, but it's absolutely 9:06 and 57 seconds. All right. So that's a view, a screenshot again of what you're going to see in your purchase order for receipt folder once you task folder once you click on the options to get there. Okay. We're going to move on to slide 32. Now, once you click on the purchase order for receipt for the PO, the specific PO that you want to do the goods receipt for, okay, you're going to click on it, and then it's going to bring up this screen here, okay? And with the goods receipt purchase order screen displayed, you're going to verify that the PO number and line number are accurate, because once you click into it, you're going to view the information up there, and it should display as AO1 goods receipt, RO1 purchase order. And then the tip that we have for you there, you can remove the PO line number completely to see all the line numbers associated with a specific PO if there are multiple line items or line numbers, okay? Or you can specify a different line number by putting in the specific line number and clicking or pressing enter, all right? Now, once you verify everything in the fields, then you're going to press enter to populate all of the pertinent fields, the default PO line information field, as we call it there on the okay. Now we're going to go to slide 32, or 33, I'm sorry. All right, now let's talk about reviewing historical invoice and goods receipt balances, okay? Before we start any process with the, processing, I guess you could say, of the goods receipt, you need to do a couple of things. You need to look and see, which invoices were processed, which goods receipts may have previously been processed. And there's a way to do that, okay? And again, we should accomplish this before any uploading of evidential matter, any posting, or anything, okay? So the way to get there is you're going to click on the purchase order data tab, okay, which is down below. As you can see, we have it kind of highlighted in blue. That fourth tab in the bottom of the screenshot. You're going to click the scroll button located to the right of the PO number and a PO line number. I call it the golden scroll, okay? And you'll see it. We have a little picture and arrow next to it that says the scroll button. All right, and that's going to take you to the history. Now, before we go to the history, let's give you another tip here. You see that number that says smart number? Sometimes we get a little confused, myself at first. That smart number is actually your PO number, okay, followed by the PO line number. So whenever you see that number, smart number, think of it synonymously as your PO number, because that's what it is. Nothing different. Okay. So now let's go back to looking at our PO history. We populated the screen. We got there. We know we want to process some goods receipts, but we want to see what happened to this PO so far. All right. So we're going to click on the golden scroll, okay, right there, and you'll double click on it, and I'm going to go to slide 34 to show you what happened. Right. Now, does anybody remember what this particular screen looks like? Where else you may have seen this view before? Anybody? From what particular T code? What EBS T code did you see this from before? And it still is. It still is. So this is the same information you would see, but it's all here for you in the workflow. It's all here for you on the purchase order to receipt screen that you're going to actually do the goods receipt posting on. So if you click on that purchase order data tab and you click on the golden scroll there, it's going to take you to any goods receipt and any invoice transactions, electronic invoice transactions that were processed previously. Okay? It's going to show you the material document number that's assigned to the goods receipt at the time of the posting. You're going to see the quantity and amount that are part of that. You're going to see reference information that when you actually, when we're going to talk about this a little bit forward, that you can make sure that you put good reference information when you process your goods receipt. So when you do go back and look at the history, you'll know why. Okay. Now, again, there's a couple more tips for you to remember here. As you can see those numbers in the quantity column, they're all, as they're displayed, they're all positive numbers, okay? So whenever you see a number with a small negative sign just before the start of the numbers, that typically means it was an adjustment. It was either a cancellation of the goods receipt, an adjustment, and by the way, the cancellations of the goods receipt, the AROs are processed, okay? The cancellation or adjustment to the inventory or not inventory, the invoice transactions, the IRL-L lines there are normally done by DFAS. So those are the folks that have that access. We can't do any, we don't post invoices, and we don't adjust invoices. Post goods receipts, we can adjust goods receipts, but we don't do anything with the invoices. They come through IPAC and through DFAS interface to EBS. Okay? So just a couple tips for you. Whenever you see a negative, you know something's been canceled or adjusted. Right? And another tip down at the below there, both your goods receipts and IR-L displays are cumulative. There's a cumulative balance row. So that's where it says TR/EV goods receipt. That's the total number of the goods receipts. And then if you scroll down further, you'll also see one for the IRO transactions also. Just not visible in this particular view. Okay? So again, this gives you I'm sorry? That's a great question. We received that question in the last meeting, but this is what we need you to do, okay? And I'm sure Bob here will back me up on this one, but when you see the IRL, it's an invoice related transaction, okay? But I want you to think of that synonymously as a bill, okay? Whenever the supplier or service provider does their billing through their finance, like I said, it goes through IPAC or whatever they're billing through, and interfaces and DFAS posts the invoice, and it interfaces with EBS. Now, as far as what the acronym stands for, I don't have the acronym off the top of my list here, but we're going to provide that to everybody, the true acronym for IR-L. But in the meantime, I just need you to know it's a billing. Yeah. And who asked that? Yep. Let me ask you a quick question, because that's an excellent question. I'm glad you brought that up. Excellent question. Now, what's your name again? Is it Susie Kraft? Okay, so I'll tell you what, while I'm briefing you guys, just because I don't remember everybody's name, if you just, mention your name once, if you haven't asked a question, so I know I can respond back, but that is an outstanding question. So, in today's environment, okay, whenever you see that IR-L, your service provider, your supplier has been paid, okay? But in tomorrow's environment, like Bob mentioned, in fiscal year 18, when we go to G-invoicing, previously known as IPP, that's not going to be the case. The service provider, supplier will be paid after the goods receipt is processed. There'll be more of a verification, validation process in there. Today, it's It's an after-the-fact thing. Something isn't right, we go back and we dispute the invoice transaction. Tomorrow, we're going to validate and verify before we process, goods receipt, and we process the goods receipt, and the intra-governmental supplier or service provider will be paid at that point. Great question. Okay, so we're going to go to slide 35. Now, this is one of the foot stoppers of this training. Okay, so please take this down and stomp your foot, tie a string around your finger or whatever. This is a very important one. This is about attaching the supporting documentation, also known as evidential matter. Okay, so before you process, and I know some of you out there have processed or uploaded evidential matter either not at all or to the PO or after the fact. But we want you to do it, the way we're instructing you here, okay? And let's start out here. So with goods receipt purchase order string displayed, okay, you went into it, you populated it, you validated the history of what's been processed, and now you say, okay, I know I have a goods receipt I need to process. There's an invoice out there, and I have a goods receipt that I know I can process that I validated. And I have some evidential matter that I can back up my goods receipt for, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the menu, System, Services for Object, and Create Attachment, just as we have it, okay? And the Create Attachment is also that first button right under Menu. It looks like a piece of paper with a drop down next to it. All right, so what you're going to do at that point is that's where you're going to upload your supporting documentation, whether it be something from the supplier or one of those fillable PDFs that we created for you that Rebecca and Bob spoke about a little earlier. That's what you're going to upload before you click Post and process the goods receipt. Okay? Now, one other thing, if there's any other attachments that loaded against your goods receipts, you'll see the next button will be actually highlighted like the others are. See, with this one, there's nothing else attached. That's why that second button is grayed out and in obscurity there. Okay? So again, this is how you're going to upload your evidential matter. You're going to do it first before you process or post your goods receipt. Okay? So let's go to the next chart, slide 36. Attaching the supporting documents, the evidential matter. All right? Now, this is similar for you MIPR generators out there. This is where it gets similar to, what you do to upload the MIPR. Okay? So what you're going to do, you're going to find where you have your evidential matter saved, whether it's on the My Documents or whether it's on the desktop in a shared drive or whatever, and you're going to go through the motions to obtain and locate that evidential matter and upload it. Okay? And here's the tip we have for you: is clicking on the drop down is your fastest option to finding your relevant drive and folder when you're going through there. Okay? So if you remember that, it'll go a little faster. Okay? Let's go to slide 37. Now, let's talk about posting the goods receipt. Okay? So, you've already uploaded your evidential matter. All right? And for some of you guys out there that may be thinking this, we had a question yesterday, or not yesterday, but last week, that someone said, well, how can I upload evidential matter when I don't have a material document number already? Well, the way EBS does it is once you upload the evidential matter and then you post the goods receipt, it's going to automatically associate that attachment to the material document number that EBS creates for the goods receipt. Okay? But before we get there, I'm speeding a little bit too much here. Let's talk about populating the goods receipt here with what needs to be there. And we've got 6 steps here. One is critical, but there's 6 let's talk about. All right? And the first thing is you're going to enter the document date and posting date. Always remember, both dates will be the same, which is the current date of the post. If it was today, you put today's date in both those areas. Okay? should be entered in a delivery note and or bill of lading field. For example, why? Is this second quarter services? Is this first quarter services? Is this last quarter? Or whatever you have, okay, to identify why we're processing a receipt. Okay, just a description there. Now let's talk about the critical. Now, again, this is the critical foot stomper here. And we receive a lot of questions, and we have a lot of reworks because of this one field. Sometimes AROs out there don't really pay attention to what's in the quantity and unit of issue field. For example, this PO here, if I'm looking at it correctly, is $1,000. There's 1,000 left on the PO that can be processed. In the quantity of unit of entry field down there, it has $1,000. It automatically defaults to whatever is the PO value left. So if your goods receipt is for the full $1,000, there's no problem. You just look at it, review it, and you press on to the next block. But if it's anything less than 1,000, you got to make sure that you change that value to match the value of the goods receipt that you want to post. Because if you don't, it'll prematurely close out the MIPR. And then you're going to have to call us, and we're going to have to go to DISA to move your MIPR from MIPR complete back to purchase order for receipt. So again, critical step. Whatever you're processing a goods receipt for is the amount that you need to change in that quantity and unit of entry field right there. Okay? Now, step 4. You want to validate that the PO line item is accurate, change it if required. Step 5, you're going to click the item OK box. Okay? And then let's talk about the header box, okay, because we have a tip there for you. The header text displays as reference information for the transaction history, okay? Although this is an optional field, this can be really valuable. For example, you might want to enter, some pertinent data applicable to the receipt. You may want to enter something specific, if this is invoice monthly, something that references you back to, when you look at a transaction history or a history from the golden scroll tab there of why this receipt was processed. As much good information, because I see a lot of these out there that have no information. So the more accurate information you have, the less questions you're going to receive from an auditor. Okay. Now, there's one other, the nucleus of this thing here really is the quantity tab. You really can't do any of this unless you have the quantity tab clicked and selected. And that's where you're going to do your posting of your goods receipt from. If you're in the purchase order data or the partner or account assignment, you can't post a goods receipt. You have to be in the quantity tab so you can update these fields. Okay? Now, after you gave it another once over, if all the information that you have here is correct, you're going to click the post button. And that is when our receipt will now post. Okay, so let's go to slide 38. All right, so how do we know that the posting of the goods receipt was successful or, was correct? Well, EDS displays a material document number at the bottom of the screen, and it says it was posted, and that green check mark means it was successfully posted. Okay? So once that's done, you don't have to really write that down, because if you go back to the golden scroll, you'll see that material document number of the receipt. You just posted it and when you posted it. All right? So the way to get out of here is you don't want to click cancel or exit. You want to click the back button to take you back to your workflow in the purchase order for receipt tab folder that you were previously in. That's how we go back to that area. Okay? Any questions so far? Susie? we're gonna get in. That's a great question. We're gonna get in that a little bit more here in these last couple of modules. But let me just say this one thing that hopefully and one thing, if you're not on mute, please go on mute. I hear somebody typing out there. But here's the thing. That memorandum NFR that the PMO here created, that's just not a, that's not an automatic. Okay, that's again, is if if you've had one or two or however many multiple tries to go back to the supplier, the service provider, and they can't provide you anything, but the service was received, then after that research, we want you to, you can use that form, okay? But again, by all means, you want to keep the communication channels open with that supplier and service provider, and try to obtain that information as much as you can. Now, as far as billing, monthly and so on, typically when you do the general terms and conditions, the MIPR generator does, those billing frequencies and all that should be coordinated and collaborated with the service provider, the supplier, and included in the MIPR. And what you need, the ARO needs also to be able to process the gift receipts at a minimum, the receipt and acceptance policy that we sent out to everybody. So, and typically, again, most service providers or intergovernmental type suppliers should be billing monthly at a minimum. Okay, that's monthly. So if you're not being billed monthly, and you should, then it's time to get on the phone and give that your POC a phone call and find out what's going on. Okay. So, but I think we'll get onto that a little bit further. So let's talk about canceling a goods receipt. But again, great question. There are times when an intergovernmental supplier may need to correct a previously submitted bill or invoice, which creates the need to also correct the goods receipt. Okay, maybe the invoice was done at a erroneous amount, maybe it was multiple times, who knows? Okay, and you process the goods receipt, you have to, once DFAS does their thing, because again, we can't adjust invoice transactions, but we can adjust the goods receipt. So there are situations when that correction has to be done, and we're going to tell you how to do it. Okay. So to cancel a goods receipt, you're going to click on a PO just as you would to post a goods receipt. Same way, run from your purchase order to receipt task folder. And I'm going to go to slide number 40. All right. Now the option in this case isn't AO1 and RO1. The option in this case is AO3 cancellation. Okay. So you're going to click the drop down and you're going to click on AO3 cancellation. Okay. So let's go to slide 41. All right. With the cancellation menu document screen displayed, AO3 cancellation, and you'll also see the next block should be the RO2 material document number, because you're not canceling a PO. You're actually canceling the material document number